Hi, it's Dr. Betsy here with another week of Body, Mind, Spirit. I'm very excited to be talking with James Barry today about an amazing product that something you could add to your food that's going to help with your health. But before we get into that, I want to talk to James a little bit about his background. Now, James, you started off as a personal chef, and I'm not big on name dropping, but I'm going to name drop some people for on your behalf. So you've been a personal chef for people like Tom Cruise and what I said, John Cusack. There was a whole bunch of them. And
George
I got it.
Clooney.
George Clooney, Mariska Hargitay, Gerard Butler, Sean Puffy Combs, Barbara Streisand, and that's probably just to name a few. So that's pretty impressive.
Thank you. I was really fortunate. I went to a school in New York that actually is no longer a school because the founder passed away and then they eventually fizzled out, I think. But it was a school known for nutritional support, like for healthy cooking. It's called the nutritional, or it used to be called the Natural Gourmet, but I think it was the Natural Gourmet Institute. And so I went to school. And I was in my 30s and I was just like, I'm not messing around. I'm going to take this really seriously. And I did everything. I worked at the farmers markets. I worked at nearby restaurants. I did everything the school asked. I got perfect attendance. Whereas there were some people that just showed up like, they were right out of high school. They didn't show up sometimes. They just were relaxed. And I was paying for it and it was not cheap. So I took it really serious. And when I graduated, the school recognized that I was responsible, dependable, and they just sent me so many recommendations. It just paid for itself. It was amazing.
What made you decide to become a personal chef?
It's kind of funny. I always loved cooking. From when I was about 4 or 7 years old, I was taught to scramble an egg and I really liked it. But for some reason at that young age, I thought cooking was not practical. Like I thought to be a chef, you had to work nights. And for some reason at the age of 12, I was like, I'm a family man. I don't know why I thought that, but basically I was like, I'm not going to become a chef. I'm just going to do it as a hobby because I don't want to work nights. And then it was 9/11 actually. 9/11 happened. And, that's kind of like the Pearl Harbor of our generation. And I took it really intensely and I kind of reevaluated my life. And I said, look, everything I do from this point on, it's got to have heart. It's got to be something I truly love. And cooking was one of those things. So I dropped everything and I basically started saving up to go to that culinary school and I changed my whole career.
That's amazing. And then also to focus on healthy foods too, because I love to eat and there's certainly things out there that are not necessarily always healthy. So, and you had another company or it was a delivery company too?
Yeah. Well, so as a private chef, I was cooking for a lot of celebrities and I was getting really good feedback. Even I was cooking for family, just kind of your regular families too. I kind of had multiple things going on at one point. And I was getting such great feedback, like women who couldn't still had their baby weight after many years and they couldn't lose it. And they were losing it after a few weeks of eating my food. And so I was getting such good feedback. And I thought, I don't want to just be someone who's catering to very wealthy people. Like I want to help everybody. And that's when I conceived of a meal delivery service that was delivering the type of food, my type of healthy food to as many people as I could. However, I was one of those people that I was a technician. I didn't know business. And so I definitely attacked that business for 8 years. And I sacrificed my health because I really didn't know what I was doing. And I learned, it took me a long time to learn, but holy moly, like I barely got sleep. Even when we would go on vacations, I was still working. I could not get out from under that business. So I learned a lot. That was definitely my business school education.
And that's, something that's so important. And I talk to people all the time is that if you don't have that balance, then your own health starts to suffer.
Which is ironic, right? Because
Yeah.
we're in the health field, you're trying to help other people, but who sacrifices their health in the health field? It's the practitioners.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I've been there many times. So, you also have co-authored a cookbook.
Yeah, I've done a few. So this is actually how I met my wife. So Margaret Floyd, who's now Margaret Floyd Berry, she was writing her first book, Eat Naked. And she was at the point where she was needing to do the recipe section. And so she and I had just met, I think maybe a month or a few weeks before. And she said, can I just have a call with you? Because she had already scheduled to do that recipe section with someone else, but they lived in like Switzerland and they didn't really know healthy cooking. So she thought I'd give her like 30 minutes of my time, and I gave her like 2 hours, and I broke down all these things. And basically she got off the call and said, okay, I have to work with you on this. And it was through the process of working on those recipes that we fell in love. And then we did a follow-up cookbook. And then from there, now we have 2 kids.
That is awesome. That's such a wonderful story. And now, how did you get to, like, I want to talk to you about the product that you have now. Where did Pluck come in? First of all, what is Pluck and how did you start it?
Yeah. So Pluck, here it is right here. Pluck is an organ-based seasoning. And what's important about that is organs, in my judgment, are Mother Nature's multivitamin. They are one of the most nutrient-dense, bioavailable foods out there. And you can pit it against anything, and people always do. They'll put it up like what are some commonly mentioned nutrient-dense foods? What you probably would say, kale, broccoli, blueberries, anything, muscle, like beef, maybe grass-fed beef, maybe, right? Those are the common ones you see, right? You add liver to the mix, and liver just completely blows them out of the water. Completely, like every marker that's being measured, liver has. And when I talk blows out of the water, I'm not saying like beef is 3 grams of B vitamins or whatever, and like liver is 7. I'm talking like 3 to 300. You know what I mean? It's enormously nutrient dense. And it's right there. It's right there. It's coming. You buy it from healthy cows, and you have these amazing nutrients, and yet we're not eating it for some reason, right? We've either lost the art of cooking it, we've lost the taste for it. We associate organ meat as being kind of icky or So that's when I thought, okay, how can I get the nutrients, these amazing nutrients, into your diet without you knowing it, without you even having to cook it, without you having to think about it, and without you thinking that it didn't taste good. And that's when I came up with this. And having 2 kids, it's been amazing because, as a parent, you're always wanting to do good for your family, right? You're always wanting to make sure that your family is getting nutrients in their diet. And we struggle as parents, right? Because you're struggling with picky eaters. You're struggling with your time. Do I have time to make all these things? You're struggling with your know-how. A lot of people, we assume we're all amazing cooks, but we're not. A lot of people don't like cooking. They hate it, in fact. And they feel bad about that. I'm like the first person to say, actually, cooking it's not for everybody. I'll always support the person that doesn't want to cook, but
I think thank God for my husband, because if it wasn't for him, none of us would be eating, because I'm definitely not the cook in the house. I'm the baker, not the cook.
But did you ever feel like you were supposed to be the cook?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like all of a sudden, but I was never taught really to cook when I was younger. Yeah. So all of a sudden it was, you go to college and poof, you're an adult, and now you're out on your own, and I have to cook, and I don't know how to cook. And it was like, all right, what do I do? Where do I start? So,
when I had my business in LA, the meal delivery service, I would talk to so many clients, and they had so much shame around it. And I was like, no, it's okay. It's cooking. We think because we eat, we're supposed to cook, but it's just not. It doesn't have to be that way. There's so many people don't enjoy it, and I'm a big proponent of, if you don't enjoy it, then you should be paying someone else to do it, because there's no reason. We're on this planet for such a short time. Why should you be doing anything every day that just doesn't resonate with you?
I have to say, I've started to get a little bit more into it, because as a family, we watch. My family doesn't. I just happen to be there. They watch a lot of cooking television. So I'm starting to pick up more. I'm starting to get more adventurous, which brings me to the thought of organ meats. I don't know why. Because now I know how healthy and important organ meats are in our diet. But there was a time that even in medical school, I remember thinking, why would we eat livers? Liver is a filtration organ that's filtering like the bad things out of your body. Why would I eat something like that? Or why would I eat a kidney that's also filtering things out of the body? So there was, I think, from a medical standpoint, years ago, there was this misunderstanding. Plus, I always associated organ meats with, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get a lot of people that are going to be tweeting and messaging me horrible things, but, and this is a bias and then obviously a not correct thought, but I always associated organ meats with like the British. I don't know why.
I mean, kidney steak and kidney pie, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Organ meats are really built into so many cultures, so many, from broths to, there's of course like blood sausage. There's sweetbreads. You go to most cultures, they have some, like French, of course, Irish. They have it built into their diet, and honestly, we used to as well. World War II, there was a fear of there being a shortage of muscle meat. And because organ meat at that time was seen as a poor person's food, our government put money into a campaign to educate people on organ meat and to encourage them to eat it. And so that's why many of those of us in our 40s and on, we have parents or grandparents that ate organ meat because that's what they did. I mean, my mom was just telling me the other day so she grew up in New York. I mean, they used to go to the butcher, like a poultry butcher, and the chickens would be alive in the back. They would be in the back, and they would be like a kosher chicken place, and they would pick which chicken they want. There would be some woman, sitting in a chair, just plucking feathers, just covered in feathers, plucking them. And you would get a warm carcass when they were done, when they called to say it was ready. I mean, that isn't that long ago, right? There was a much more connection to the food that you were eating and to the animal that sacrificed its life for you to eat that. And now it's, I personally connect all of our chronic illness to the fact that we're not eating this nose to tail way that we used to, that our bodies were basically formulated to do. And so that's really what ultimately that is what I am about. I am trying to get people to eat more nose to tail, and to particularly to eat the parts of the animal that are nutrient dense, but that you're not getting in your diet. And Pluck has liver, kidney, heart, spleen, and pancreas in it. 5 organs. And most people might be like, well, I eat beef liver, but I guarantee you're not eating spleen and pancreas. You know what I mean? Like, who's eating that unless you're taking it in a supplement form? So,
and that's the thing I came across was as I started getting into more like holistic medicine, was a lot of these supplements that contain these organs. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, look what some of these supplements can do for people, that are containing like liver or pancreas. And then I'm like, wait a minute, why aren't we eating it? And that really made me kind of go, wait a minute, you're right. We've gotten away from eating organ meats, and it's really so important.
Yeah. So, and not only have we gotten away from it, we now associate all of it as just being this general bad tasting food. And it's so inaccurate, because if anyone listening has ever had chicken hearts, for example, chicken hearts are mild and sweet. They do not taste icky. Like, the only icky part of it is just your concept of, I'm eating a chicken heart like that. But if you can get past that, they actually are incredibly delicious. And beef tongue is another one that's amazing. You can order in many Mexican restaurants. It's called lengua, but the tongue, when you cook it, you can braise it like a meat, just any other meat, and it takes on the flavors really well, and it shreds. You peel the sheath that's around the tongue off, and what's underneath is closer to muscle meat than anyone realizes, and it shreds just like pulled pork or something like that. And it's incredibly delicious, and you wouldn't even know that you're eating tongue. If I served it to you like that, you would think you were just eating beef.
That is amazing. And I can't wait to talk to you some more about this after we take a commercial break.
Always been my mission to help people with their health. Organs are some of the most nutrient-dense superfoods on the planet, and yet we're not getting them in our diet. My name is James Barry. I have been a chef for over 16 years. I came up with this new product. It's called Pluck. It's an organ-based all-purpose seasoning. In Pluck, you don't need to know how to cook. Just simply either make a food how you would and finish it with Pluck. You can add it to the recipe while you're making it. You can finish it with Pluck. You can simply just season your meal with Pluck. By being a shelf-stable spice, can be added to any food. Popcorn, rice, salad, chicken, fish, eggs, you name it, and you can use it with Pluck. The organ-based all-purpose seasoning that's versatile and goes with any food. Nutrition in a pinch.
And we're back with James Barry talking about the importance of organ meats. Before the break, I was also thinking, I recently came across a recipe for chicken hearts and I was adventurous. I'm like, let's try this. And it was like basically buffalo chicken hearts. I had the hardest time finding some of these organ meats. That's been another problem. Like my regular supermarket, I can't find them. I'm smack dab in the middle of New Jersey, but where I am, we don't have a lot of ethnic supermarkets where I might have to travel to get to some of these places. So sometimes it's hard to find them.
It really is. And I'm a big advocate of quality, like that you really need to be sourcing healthy animals. You touched on something that's really important. The association that organs are these places where toxins either filter, but that maybe that people have this idea that organs are where the toxins are stored. Now that's inaccurate. As you know, toxins are stored in fat, and ideally, if your detoxification pathways are working, you're actually detoxing. You're getting rid of toxins. But usually they're stored in fat, not in the organs. However, if it's not a healthy animal, then yeah, you're going to get stored in all over the body in random places, right? And so I'm really a big advocate. So when I'm looking for beef organs, for example, I look for 100% grass-fed or grass-fed and grass-finished, because there is a misconception. All cattle are grass-fed, but not all cattle are grass-finished. Yes. So when you see it say pastured, you don't always know what that means. So you want to look for the grass-fed and grass-finished. And so, yeah, you're right. You got to order stuff online nowadays if you're in an area that doesn't carry it. US Wellness Meats is a great resource. There are many others. If you just do a search for, grass-fed, grass-finished beef, I'm sure someone will pop up. Now, you will find that you're limited in what organs you can find. Like, it's really hard to find spleen. I mean, it's pretty easy to find liver and heart. Kidney is probably the next one that you can find usually, but it's not always the case. And that's really an issue of that our country doesn't value all of the animal organs for human consumption. All the organs, every part of the animal is getting used. I guarantee that it's getting used in some way, but it's just not getting used for human consumption. It's usually going to like the pet food industry, or it's going back to feed the animals. A lot of times that's where like mad cow disease came, is they took sick animals and they fed them to the healthy animal, or the so-called healthy animals. And then you get sick animal, everyone's sick then. And they also get fed to like zoo animals. So they do use everything, but it's really hard to find a meat processor that is certified to use, or like is set up to use all the organs. You have to go to other countries like New Zealand or Argentina. That's where a lot of the organs that are used in supplements come from. And that's actually where we sourced our organs, is from New Zealand. We went to the source. We went to the best source possible, which is important. You have to think about the health of the animal equals the health of you if you're eating the animal.
I was checking out your website, and when you were comparing the nutritional value of your basically, what would you call it? Like an herb or like a seasoning?
Yeah, like all-purpose seasoning. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I'm comparing it to like, I saw ones on there that I'm like, oh, I have those in my cupboard, And
it's like zero. Yeah, they have nothing in them except the only number on the chart that goes up for theirs and down for mine is sugar.
Yeah.
Because they have, sugar and salt. They have a lot more salt and a lot more sugar. Yeah, let's talk about the vitamins and minerals in organ meats. So I said it was like Mother Nature's multivitamin. But if you look at all the vitamins and minerals in organ meat, it's kind of like prenatal vitamins. It's kind of like all the same stuff in prenatals, which is, you're taking prenatals because you're building life, right? So organs, in a sense, are building life. And they have vitamins A, B, C, D, E, and K. They have a good amount of K, actually, and B12. They have essential minerals like iron, which is heme iron, so it's very absorbable, calcium, copper, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, zinc. And this is coming from, like I said, something that's bioavailable. So usually your body can absorb it in this state, opposed to if it's a synthetic vitamin, you sometimes can risk, getting too high, or where you're getting too much. You can put yourself in a danger zone. So it's really a great source for these amazing nutrients. And we have to remember, these vitamins aren't just like, oh, I'm not just throwing out words. I mean, these are vitamins and minerals that are essential to life, that help you detoxify. They help you they help break down your food and produce it into energy. They're cofactors for just hundreds of functions in our body. And when you're deficient, which most of us are, I mean, the percentage of people that are deficient in at least one or more nutrient or vitamin it's something like 60%. I mean, it's really high.
I mean, I got to call out some of these because I'm looking at it right now. Like, I deal with almost every single day in my practice, people being magnesium deficient. I mean, the majority of medical conditions I see have some sort of magnesium deficiency, especially people who have bowel problems, constipation. We're definitely not getting enough magnesium. Anxiety. I've seen a lot of, anxiety, and just in actually taking some magnesium or incorporating more magnesium in your diet can help with that. Then the B vitamins, your product has so many of the B vitamins in it. And we think about B vitamins for energy, for thyroid health, for detoxification, and zinc. You got tons of zinc. The potassium alone, I was looking at that. I was like, these other products you compare it to have like absolutely like less than none like potassium, and your product has 559 milligrams of potassium. I'm like, this is really kind of like better than any kind of multivitamin that I look at.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, if you're eating organ meats straight, if you are someone that eats them, then that's great. I mean, I think that's always going to be the best way to get these nutrients, because you're eating 100%, but we're just not. As you said, it's hard to find. People just aren't doing it. A lot of people, like, I can tell you, and I'm talking ultra healthy people. Okay. I have had many conversations, and I am one of them. I fully raise my hand on this, of those healthy people that has like beef heart just sitting in their freezer for 2 years, because you buy it with the best intentions and then you never get to it, because either it's daunting or you're just worried, like, I don't know how I'm going to incorporate it, whatever it is. Same thing with liver. I mean, we have so many organs in our freezer, but Pluck is something you don't need to know how to cook. You don't need to worry about it tasting icky, because it tastes just like any seasoning salt. Actually, it tastes better than most of the seasoning salts out there, but it doesn't taste like organ meat. And you can sprinkle it on anything, and it actually makes the other food taste better, because it has an umami taste to it, a natural umami taste. And umami is the 5th unique taste. And umami is just that it's so unique that it makes you want more. You're just like, oh, this is so good, but it just enhances the flavor of the other 4 tastes. And to me, that's a win-win. I mean, when you don't have to worry about cooking it, you don't have to worry about stores. It's shelf stable, so you keep it in your shelf with all your other spices. It lasts for 2 years. Ideally, you're using it daily, though. Like, I really encourage people, use it on everything. It is so versatile, which is not. I didn't know this when I made it. Like, I was like, oh, I'll try it on this, try it on that. Okay, it works. Great. Let's put it up. But since then, I've learned from people that are like, oh yeah, I've tried it on fruit. I've heard someone that said they put it on pomegranates and they thought it was so good. Since then, my kids put it on their toast. We've put it on salads. We've put it on fish. We put it on oysters. I mean, I honestly, I haven't found one thing that it doesn't go well with. We joke that the one thing it doesn't go well with is ice cream. That's our joke. But actually, I don't think we've ever tried it. It might actually taste good. I don't
you know
know.
what? I mean, combining that umami on maybe a little bit of vanilla ice cream or something like that, that might actually be pretty good. So
You never
I'm just
know.
excited.
I
I just learned like
give it a try and let me know.
over the summer the word umami because my husband was talking about it. I'm like, I've never heard that terminology. So I'm glad you explained what it is. So now I'm very excited when I find foods that have that quality. So so you know, yeah, I was gonna say, do you you just sprinkle it on anything. So
yeah, one of the favorites is popcorn. Like, and what's great is, like I mentioned earlier, as a parent, my kids do know about it. They love it. So they ask for it. They ask for it on everything. But let's just say if you're a parent with some picky eaters, and I get this feedback from our customers, they'll tell me, oh yeah, I don't tell my family I put it in there. So what happens, this is a fun story. So there was this person who always made these stuffed peppers. It was a recipe in their family that they cooked for, I think, 7 years. It was a consistent, solid recipe. The family always ate it and said, oh, this is good. Well, all she changed about it was she used Pluck. That's all she changed. And that night at dinner, her family went crazy. They were like, oh my gosh, what did you do? This is so amazing. And she was like, I just used this new seasoning I purchased. That's all I did. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's so good. And I
get a whole new commercial instead of your one of your competitors. I remember them like, all I did was, adobo the chicken. It'd be all I did was pluck the meatloaf.
Yeah, that's our saying is we say like, oh, food not up to par, pluck it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love this. And I'm very excited that it's going to make it easy. And you were talking about as parents, like I am definitely one of those people who's always sneaking things in to the foods. And half the time my kids are figuring it out. So, especially when I've like put a lot of kale in the tomato sauce and they're like, why is this tomato sauce not red anymore? So I'm like, I'm always trying to sneak things into it, but this would be really easy to
really easy. And they just won't know. I promise everyone out there listening, it doesn't taste like organ meat. I've hidden the organs taste. I've complemented the flavors. So what other ingredients are in there? There's some granulated onions and garlic. There's some smoked paprika. So I've kind of like masked the flavor with these herbs and spices. So that's the comment I get the most is people like, I don't taste the organs. And yet they are in there because you can recognize that it's unique, but you just don't taste organs.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what I'm thinking? I'm like envisioning that like someday you're going to be like in every restaurant, like all the condiments are going to be like, I need my Pluck,
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I loved about the name and my branding the branding company I was working, they came up with a name, so I can't take credit for it. But when I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, I like that because I could imagine a kid going in a grocery store, like you said, in a restaurant and say, can I have the Pluck, please? Or where's the Pluck? Like it just felt like a word, like an actionable word. And actually the historical name of why we use Pluck is because Pluck originally actually means, and anyone can look this up, it actually, instead we associate with plucking feathers and plucky attitude, but it actually means originally animal organs.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either until this branding company enlightened me.
Oh my goodness. So where can people find out more about your product?
Well, so right now we're available online at eatpluck.com. In the new year, I think you're going to be able to find us in some different retail outlets. We'll see. But right now, just on our website at eatpluck.com. And you can also learn more about us, just kind of how we're interacting our community on social media at eatpluck. And me personally at Chef James Berry, and that's Berry with an A.
Oh, that's great. I can't wait to be using this more. And I'm going to let you know how I'm sure my kids will like it, but I can't wait to start putting it in all their food. So
let me know, because we also have some recipes on our website for people that just feel a little shy about what to do with it. So we have a lot of recipes and we're continually growing that. So definitely check out the website for that too.
I have an idea. I'm going to try this. You're not, when we talked about ice cream. So don't laugh at me. I've been putting a lot of mushroom powder in my coffee and it gets that umami. I'm going to try this in my coffee.
So an influencer named Ben Greenfield did it.
Ben already did it.
Yeah, he tried it in his coffee, but you'll have to try it and tell me what you think, because he did it. And I had never thought of that. I was like, what? Like I would never have done, but we are eventually going to have a beverage seasoning, like one where you could add your coffee. That's on my radar.
I love that. I love that idea. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today and about your product, and everybody go up to his website, buy it. I also make sure you're following James Barry and also Eat Pluck. Also take the time, follow me for more information at drbetsygreenleaf.com. And you can find me on social media in many different forms at Dr. Betsy Greenleaf. And if you're enjoying the program today, don't forget to check out WYTV7.org. You can look at other programming, what we're doing in the community. Don't forget to push on that donate button so that we can bring more programs like this to you and also support what we're doing in the community. And also, once again, don't forget to come back next week for another edition of Body, Mind, Spirit. Thank you so much, James, for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.